Good evening. Thank you, President Luke, for your kind introduction and for your leadership. We're here to celebrate you, the 2022 graduates of Beaufort County Community College. This night is about you. It's not about me. It's not about the president. It's not about the board. It's all about you. Your hard work, your challenges, all of your experiences added up to something. The nights you stayed up late, probably right before an assignment was due. The days you woke up early. The constant fitting in classwork between jobs and family and life. Not to mention a global pandemic. So let us begin with congratulations. You all are here. President Luke was kind enough to tell you about something about what I've accomplished so far in work and in public service. But it didn't tell you a whole lot about my own rural upbringing, my family, challenges I faced, or the fact that my head was too big to wear the mortar that you all are wearing tonight. He didn't mention that I had the good fortune to spend many years down here in service to on a nonprofit board, or that I discovered a love for Bill's hot dogs that's never quite gone away. It was great to return to downtown after a couple years away and see how vibrant your downtown has become. I'm really grateful for the chance to be here. I'm going to share a few pieces of advice, but again, this night's about you, so I'll be brief. First, I want to talk about the opportunity in front of you. I think all of us would like for our time on earth to matter. We'd like to make a difference. Now, that ability to make a difference can take many forms. Mentoring children through a church or YMCA, starting a community garden, driving aging family members or neighbors to the doctor. It can mean running for office and passing laws, starting a business. It can mean running a college. My family grew up in a small town, about twice this size in western North Carolina, a furniture town. Growing up, every message I received from television and radio and magazines and eventually the internet, because while I feel like I'm 18 or 20, I'm a little bit older than that, told me that if I wanted to have an impact, I needed to move to New York or DC or Raleigh or Charlotte. The messages I absorbed told me I needed to leave home. In truth, it would have been nice to hear something different. It would have been nice to understand back then that we can make a difference from anywhere. Your individual ability to create an impact is a gift. Our collective ability to create an impact comes in all shapes and sizes. You don't have to wait to be in a position of power or influence. You don't have to wait to be old. You don't have to move away. In fact, impact might come quicker for you staying here. At Ed&C, and President Luke was kind enough to praise our work, we've seen it time and time again. We've seen it in the form of folks like Stephen Hill and Trent Mooring in Kinston who moved away and came back and opened a brewery and a hotel, and they employed dozens and provided space for hundreds to gather, and they sparked a revitalization of downtown. We've met Henry Cruz in Henderson, who at an age when most people are retiring, launched an organization to spark economic growth and use agriculture to spark social change. We've seen the impact of Teach for America teachers and colleagues and friends like Seth and Aaron and Donnell in Edgecombe County, who might not be from around here, but who quickly realized what so many of us knew who are from around here, that this is a place that you fall in love with. It's a place to stay and a place to launch innovative efforts. And in their case, they're changing the lives of hundreds of students. My second lesson comes from where I live today, which is in Raleigh and Durham. The truth is, we have a lot of restaurants, a lot of stores, a lot of industry, but we also are missing a lot of what you have. A beautiful waterfront, the ability to spend time outside hunting, hiking, or fishing, deep and meaningful history. And beyond that, you also all have the connection that we all seek. Intimacy and familiarity and connection. In Raleigh and Durham, many of our churches and membership organizations create micro groups, micro communities to help us get to know one another. We create rec leagues based off of location or age or identity. We go to the same coffee shops and restaurants in hopes that someone might remember us. So the connection that we all seek and the connection that we all missed during the pandemic. Now, these attempts to create community within a community are not unique to urban areas. I know that even in rural spaces, many of you probably have to seek to find the people that you connect with. But in rural areas, there's the advantage of proximity and engagement. You get to see folks more often. And in our crowded, growing cities, I found we have to be so much more intentional to find exactly what you have right here. And ultimately, as a good friend of mine often says, what you have right here is what rural author and champion Wendell Berry once called membership. Membership, in essence, is what happens when we recognize our place among people and the animals and the land that make up our community. And it's once we recognize one another and our place in the world that we also recognize we bear a responsibility. And when we realize we bear that responsibility to the people that we love and that we know, and even the people that we don't know, that's when we become members. So some people spend their entire lives seeking membership, connection, and impact. And I know that staying home in rural North Carolina doesn't mean you're guaranteed those things. You still have to work for them. But choosing to live here, or somewhere a lot like here, might just help you find many of the things that so many of my friends and neighbors spend time seeking. And finally, allow me to state the obvious. We live in a rapidly changing world. It's, I think, a trope of graduation speeches that people, usually with slightly more gray hair than me, but not much more gray hair than me, stand up and tell you how much the world's changing, but it's true. Just a few weeks ago, I was at Bennett College, which is one of North Carolina's 10 historically black colleges and universities. And President Suzanne Walsh introduced us to a new phrase I'd not heard before, a VUCA moment, V-U-C-A. This stands for volatility and uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. In short, it stands for moments and periods of time that can both shape our lives and are largely out of our individual control. We can't stop a pandemic by ourselves. We can't combat inflation on our own. We can't bring all the jobs back when a plant closes. So what then? I've suffered a number of tragedies in my life. Most recently, my mother, who remained in our rural community her entire life, died from an accidental drug overdose. With tragedy, and so many of you know this too well, comes lessons we'd rather learn another way. They're important lessons nonetheless. And the biggest thing I've learned during any of the hardships I've faced is that we have to control what we can control. We have to meet uncertain moments with a sense of purpose. And during my travels, I've met so many people who are doing just that, including right here. I've met in Tarboro, Inez and Stephen Rubistello, who started a successful restaurant and brewery there. After 9/11, took the place where they worked. 9/11, they were working in the World Trade Center. After they lost their jobs and too many people they cared about, they moved back home. I met innovators in Kannapolis, which had the largest one-day layoff in the history of the state. Mayor Darrell Hennett and others rolled up their sleeves, turned their vacant mill town into a thriving downtown, and brought the North Carolina Research Campus there. And tonight, I have the chance to meet some, and I hope eventually all of you. Graduates, your fellow students, the family members who supported you, the faculty and staff who worked alongside you, and your neighbors and friends who are so proud of you, they're all here tonight. As I've learned all too well, you don't know what challenges or opportunities life will present to you. We live in an age of unprecedented change. But just remember, with all of these complexities and all the trials and the tribulations also come tremendous opportunities to have an impact here, to work for global companies here, to solve international problems here in Eastern North Carolina, and provide an example to the entire world. Contrary to the steady drumbeat of cable news, I'm not sure a better time has ever existed to live in human history. Life expectancies have risen for decades. We've cured or contained many diseases. Poverty has decreased globally. And challenges persist, and all of us has to do something about them. Too many people still live in poverty. Too many people, by virtue of the zip code they're born in, have shorter life expectancies and poorer health outcomes than people 5 miles down the road. Our schools and colleges, President Loop, I think you'll agree with this, often have too few resources. But you, and everyone here, has the ability to do something about that. You can embrace the familiar and build a community. You can find opportunities in our complex, rapidly changing world. And in this town, and in this region, and in this state, in relationship with and in connection with people who you've known your entire life and who've known you, you can find love and joy and purpose, even in the hard moments, if you retain the curiosity and quest for learning that brought you here tonight. Author Anne Lamott writes about the trials and the hardships and the challenges and opportunities, and she said, how can we know all of this about life and yet somehow experience joy? Because that's how we're designed, for awareness and curiosity. We're hardwired with curiosity inside of us, because life knew that this is what would keep us going even in bad sailing. The truth is, life feeds anyone who is open to taste its food and its wonder and its glee and its immediacy. And so the question before you tonight is, what are you going to do with what poet Mary Oliver called your one precious life? What are you going to do to leave your family and community and world a little better? It's a question we all face. I hope that wherever you find yourself next, or wherever you go, you'll choose to take the skills and experiences and connections that you have gained during your time at Beaufort County Community College. I hope that you'll remember the lessons you've learned. I hope that you'll value and treasure the relationships you have. And I hope that you will seek to change something for the better. The truth is, we only have one shot. So what are we going to do with it? Thank you.